All right, so it's time for me to review Jurassic World Dominion. Uh okay. So it's it was a film. It happened. So for the premise standpoint, it's been 4 years since the end of Fallen Kingdom where they were in the mansion and they let out all the dinosaurs and they started repopulating and now they're like they kind of do a montage to begin to go over like the basically to give you an idea of what's been happening for the last 4 years. Dinosaurs basically being integrated into the world and how people have been dealing with it. They go over how, there's a rise in like poaching and the illegal activity revolving around dinosaurs. There were some hints at some, I think it was a special feature they did where like a family was camping and a T Rex came into the camp area and like was or one of the carnivores like a T-Rex was like in the campground like attacking the stuff. And I remember I think it was like it might have been an animated short, but or it was live action. I think it was one of the special features on the Blu-ray for Fallen Kingdom. I'm not 100% sure off the top of my head, but they did show clips of that as like a news report type thing. And I was like, oh, that was from that thing that was special features. I was like, that's actually pretty cool that there's some continuity. This felt, and then, like a lot of callbacks, like I said earlier in the podcast, a lot of callbacks to the original trilogy. They actually had Dodson in it, from the first one. A callback to Ned. I think it was Ned, or was it Nedry? Ned, whatever his name is. Like there was callbacks to that. I'm always gonna call him Newman, honestly. But there's callbacks to that with him now in charge of this biotech company. And it's funny that they always pick stuff from the first two books, well, the only two books, and put them in these films, but they weren't in the previous movies or adaptations. So it's kind of like one of those things where it's like, well, maybe you should have took more elements from the Lost World book and put it in the film, so that way there could have been a consistency with these companies and these people that keep showing up in these films. And and in the meantime of this, so we have Claire's basically, a freedom fighter. She's, breaking into, you know, poaching and illegal activity facilities and, getting footage and leaking it to the news and this and that and the government to like shut down these black market operations. And then Owen is basically a cowboy dinosaur wrangler on a horse, which I felt was weird. And I feel like they only did it to just kind of be like, hey, here's a cool moment. What if he's on a horse with dinosaurs and he actually lassos one? And I'm like, okay. I still enjoyed the film. Not gonna lie. Like all the stuff I'm nitpicking is just from the standpoint of I am such a fan of the films. I am a fan of the books. I've read the books, both books, countless times. And, it's one of those things where I almost wish I never read the books, because when you read, especially the first Jurassic Park, and then you watch the film, you're like, not a bad adaptation, but man, there's so many elements in those books that would be like great in the film. Same with The Lost World. The Lost World, the book compared to the movie is night and day. Whereas, Jurassic Park kept a lot of the elements of it. Like the Lost World book is just completely different and just so far superior. Um, the cool thing is we have, everyone to an extent from the first film back. I think it was good because like I was concerned when everyone was like, oh, you know, they're coming back to this, and I was like, oh, cool. We haven't seen all three of these characters together since the first Jurassic Park. And my worry was it was just going to be like a throwaway cameo, but no, they did a lot of pertinent stuff to this film. They were a main element of the story, which was good. I think that with, and I'm trying not to spoil a lot of stuff, so it's kind of tough because I don't like doing like full spoiler, especially this early after the film came out. I think there was a lot of this film was a lot less ridiculous and silly than the previous two, especially Fallen Kingdom, which tried to get some horror elements to it, and a lot of stuff came out kind of weird. Like the whole human cloning things from the second one, and like that was still a part of this one. Really, like, I don't know. I'm getting like, I noticed this trend where it's constantly, oh, we shouldn't be doing all this genetic stuff. Like, we should get rid of dinosaurs. Like, that's always like the theme. And I'm like, well, how often can we get the Dr. Malcolm, like, oh, you're too busy with concerned with, doing it, that if you should, you do the science and build it. Like, and I'm like, oh, why is this always a thematic of everything? Like, why can't we just be like, hey, dinosaurs are now in the world. Let's have some crazy shit go down. And that's not the case. There were some crazy moments, and I mean like legit crazy moments, like, being on a moped and new Atrociraptors or whatever are chasing you around. Like, okay. That was there was just a lot of moments that kind of, and I'm gonna say this too, that movie was freaking, it felt like it dragged on for so long. And I mean, you don't need to have these over 2 hour films, you don't need these long ass films constantly, especially from action stamp movies, like in this and that. Like, you're really, like, this, the runtime on this was unnecessary. It was not needed. It could have been a lot shorter, and honestly it should have been a lot shorter. But I do appreciate there was more animatronics and practical effects in this film compared to the previous two, which is something that, like, I really enjoyed with the original trilogy. Yes, CG wasn't where it is now, but in Jurassic World and Fallen Kingdom, a lot of stuff looked so fake. The CG, like, detailed on CG was good, but it just felt like dinosaurs sometimes looked like and felt like they were out of place. This time I really enjoyed the more animatronics. I looked it up. I guess they used over 18 different dinosaur animatronics, and I was like, that is cool. Like, thank you, because that's one of the things that it seems more real that way, even though it's dinosaurs. But, like, just from a scene standpoint, it doesn't take you out being like, okay, they're probably literally interacting with a big broomstick with a green circle on it, and so I could appreciate the practical effects and the animatronics used. A lot of the dinosaur stuff was just looked so cool. I really enjoyed it. That's, like I said, I'm watching these movies for dinosaurs in action. I'm not going in expecting the greatest story and the most depth of character development and this and that. It's like, I just want to see some dinosaurs, and they gave me dinosaurs, so I can't really complain in that standpoint. Another thing that, I really enjoyed was that this had its ending. It had an ending. It's done. And say what you will about this franchise in this second trilogy, a lot of people are like, oh, I'm glad it's over, this and that. It's like me. I was like, we got closure on a lot of stuff from the original trilogy, like, and I'm bad with names. But Alan Grant and Sadler, like, they finally got together after, like, all the hinting in, like, the first one and the third one. It's like we got to see that full circle. Dr. Malcolm, like, Jeff Goldblum is just Jeff Goldblum now, right? Like, is he, like, even playing a character anymore? I can't tell if he's acting or if he's just being how he is in everything now, and which isn't a complaint, because I love Jeff Goldblum. All right, like, I love The Fly, all the other films I've seen him, like, I really enjoy his work. He's a good actor. He's a great actor. But there's something about, he always has that charm, and it shows through in this one. He's very charming, and you could tell when he's doing his speech, and he's like giving like a lecture in a class, and you could just see like how he's talking and his body language, and they pan to the faces of the female classmates, just like fully just engaged and enamored by him, like, talking. And yeah, so like there was a lot of positives to this film. and it sucks. Like I said, I don't want to spoil it, so I'm trying my hardest not to give away any spoilers. But yeah, it's the ending showing like dinosaurs, like basically we're gonna have to live with dinosaurs and figure it out. And I'm just like, well, that's kind of what I thought Fallen Kingdom was supposed to be, like the ending of that. So I thought that's what we were gonna get with this one, but instead they went very like, once again, evil genetic corporation using, instead of trying to make a park this time, they're trying to use DNA to manipulate and control, you know, agriculture, or they're trying to cure diseases and all this other stuff from a pharmaceutical standpoint to make money. And it's like evil corporation bad again. And I'm like, you know, the Lost World, if I'm going through all the films, like the first one was about a park, the second one was, you know, Lost World. We got, you know, T-Rex rampaging through freaking San Diego, and not really heavily focusing on evil corporation, but it's there, especially in the, you know, beginning half of the film. The third film was less of all the stuff. Instead of, hey, we're trapped on island, let's get off island. And then, you know, you had Jurassic World, which was back to the formula of here's a theme park that's making, you know, hybrid dinosaurs that never existed and selling out to corporations to sponsor them. And then things go wrong. You know, it gets shut down. Then we had, you know, Fallen Kingdom be like, oh no, island, get dinosaurs off island. Oh, now we're going to sell these dinosaurs to, you know, on the black market for military or any purposes. Now this one is like, oh, dinosaurs are loose in the wild, but we also have a sanctuary that's isolated, but we're also doing research on them for pharmaceutical purposes. And I'm like, man, like, if I was hoping this one was going to be more like Jurassic Park 3, which I am in the minority where I don't hate Jurassic Park 3 at all. I actually enjoy that film. It's one of the guilty pleasure Jurassic Park films. Is it nearly as good as the first film? No, not even close. But I like it more than Lost World. And I like it because it's just dinosaurs. You're on an island, dinosaurs, trying to get off the island. And with this one, I was hoping this is what Dominion was going to be, because if it followed the trends of the original trilogy, which I felt like it was, I thought we were going to get just crazy zaniness of dinosaurs in the world and interacting. And we got it to an extent, but we didn't. And it also seemed like a lot of stuff was just scene after scene. Okay, like a formula, like dinosaur, some sort of dinosaur attack, they get away. Conversations, okay, let's reveal some more stuff about this corporation. Dinosaur attack, wash, rinse, repeat. Like I said, a lot of the callbacks though, that's where like I was getting happy. There was callbacks to, like I said, Dodson was a main character in this, so there's callbacks to that. And the shaving cream can, they actually showed it. That's a spoiler, I'm sorry, but they actually showed the actual original can, so he did get it. Also, for those of you who don't know, there was I think it was Telltale Games. It was like an episodic point and click Jurassic Park game that came out. It actually showed how that got recovered. So I think that's canon, because in the game you got to go through and find it, and you actually found the can in the mud and everything else, and I thought that was really cool. I think it was in the book as well, but that's my main thing, was like I just remember that game, and it was really cool for all these callbacks. Like, you know, we got Alan Grant, like, you know, digging up dinosaur bones, and we had a callback to Malcolm and his chaos theories. We had the little Dilophosaurus, the spitty ones, like call back to that. Like there were so many cool, like, and they didn't seem out of place. Did they fully make sense with the plot or move the plot forward? They didn't move the plot forward. They weren't plot devices at all. They were literally just callbacks. That was it. It was there for the, hey, remember in the original trilogy? Here we go. And I actually liked it. I enjoy stuff like that, because that's what I wanted from this. I just wanted to have fun and enjoy watching a dinosaur film. And wholeheartedly, I nitpick on it and I compare it to the other ones, but I still enjoyed it. I actually had a lot of fun. Like I said, I enjoy it more than Fallen Kingdom. I think from a overall runtime and pacing standpoint, Jurassic World is better than this one. But I think it's definitely not nearly as bad as I'm already seeing some people talk about and this and that. It's not. It's really. It's just like I said, it's a fun film, but it just runs too long. But I am glad. Like I don't know if I'd watch it again in theaters. I'm definitely obviously gonna buy it on Blu-ray and 4K when it comes out because I have all of them on the 4K set. So I'm gonna get this as well. I don't know if there is a future for this franchise, honestly. Mainly because you kind of told all the stories you could in that confined arc trilogy, so to speak, and I I don't know where they would go from there. Like it would have to be just like stories within just dinosaurs being in a part of the world and no real like oomph, no real like. And there also, before I finished the review, there were moments where they were about to hit you with the freaking different songs and um music from the original Jurassic Park, and like I was like, oh, are we about to get the oh, there's the music, and I was like, yes. I was like, hey, like went back to like me as a kid going to see Jurassic Park in theaters like 4 or 5 times because I kept wanting to watch it, like, and that's what this hit. It hit that nostalgia and that inner little kid Mark that had to see Jurassic Park so many times in theaters, and then got it on VHS and like just ran that tape ragged from watching it, rewinding it so much, like, and it made me happy and I enjoyed it. So, you know, while I have my issues with the film from an objective standpoint, the dinosaur Jurassic Park loving kid that had all the dinosaur toys and like just loved that film really enjoyed this. And the thing too is I watched all 5 of the previous films before I saw this. So like from the last episode I did start watching them. From the last episode I recorded to now, like right before watching this, I did watch everything again. So I think also that kind of skewed my feelings and thoughts on it because I had just watched the original one again in 4K and The Lost World, the Jurassic Park 3. And so it was one of those things where it's like, man, I just watched a lot of Jurassic Park and Jurassic World films, you know, and then I'm going to go see the new one. So maybe that's also can attribute to not being burnt out, but from the standpoint of that runtime killing me. But that's my spoiler-free review of Jurassic World Dominion. I don't like grading things. If I did, I'd probably do like a 3.5 out of 5. You know, it was a solid film, better than the previous one, but not the best in the 6-film history. And I think it just suffered from long runtime and just some weird situations where I don't want to spoil it, so I'm not going to spoil it. But there are some situations where you're just like, okay, you should not be able to outrun a raptor. There's no situation where you can outrun a raptor. We know scientific fact how fast those things are. Not possible. And there were some cool scenes seeing like different dinosaurs like integrated and living with and being paired up with other ones like Triceratops with elephants and blue whales and humpback blue. I think they're blue whales or whatever they're called, the big whales, with like that weird bitey one, which and you know, gazelles, and with other one, like there were some cool moments like cinematography wise that I'm like, that looks actually pretty cool. I think they handled a lot of the montages in the beginning and at the end very well. I just wish it wasn't so long of a film. That's actually my main complaint. My main complaint is how long the film was. If there was a way to cut some of the unnecessary stuff out and make it shorter, it would have been better. It probably would have been like a 4 or a 4.5 out of 5 for me. But the long run time, it did at moments feel like it was dragging on. And I wasn't getting bored, but it was one of those ones where I was getting aware that I was, man, this movie is long. I wonder how much time is left. And you know, that's like never something you want to have in your head when you're watching a film in theaters. So that's it. If you're watching this on YouTube, a part of the podcast episode itself, Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Let me know what you thought of Jurassic World. What's your favorite dinosaur? What's your favorite Jurassic Park or World film, and why? Because I love talking about this franchise and dinosaurs. And if you're listening to this and watching this a part of the whole podcast, I think, guys, A Nerd Named Mark podcast is now available on all podcasting listening platforms and YouTube. There's a red button below this video. If it's red, you're not subscribed. Hit the red button so you're subscribed so you can see more videos. This has been episode 117 of A Nerd Named Mark podcast. My name is Mark, and I'm a nerd.